I think it's very important right now for us to make sure that both the Russians and the Turks are talking to each other, find out exactly what happened, and take measures to discourage any kind of escalation.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the Malzberg panel. And we're joined right now by Rick Ungar, senior political contributor for Forbes.com and co-host of Steele Ungar on SiriusXM, and C. Edmund Wright, columnist for Breitbart.com and columnist for The American Thinker. By the way, we also have, we should add, there's been a blast in Tunisia, a bus blast that killed 15. We don't know who's responsible for that. So this all continues, as Obama and the French president spoke today at the White House. And, this shooting down, Rick, of the Russian jet, because reportedly it was in Turkish airspace for about 30 seconds. First of all, I don't know what the heck Turkey's doing as a NATO member in the first place, and I wish we'd kick them the heck out of NATO and leave them to their own ruin, because I have no love for what that Turkish government does. But the president hopes that they keep talking and that, that there's no escalation. But, I mean, Putin calls this a stab in the back. They also fired on the pilots as they ejected, and they fired on a helicopter that was trying to rescue them. So I don't see Putin sitting and doing nothing.
No, and I suspect that NATO shares your point of view today, wishing also that Turkey was not a part of NATO. Look, I mean, I'm a little bit dubious about buying into some of the news we're hearing, like the 30 seconds, because we're also being told that they were warned off 10 times. I don't know how you do that in 30 seconds. So I think there's a lot more we have to learn. What I do have to agree with the president, though, the most we can hope for now, we do not want this to escalate, would not be a good thing. These guys need to work this out and stop these things from happening in the future.
What about it, C. Edmund Wright?
Well, yeah, this is one of the more sober topics we discussed on this show, Steve. I mean, this really got even more serious when the Syrian rebels successfully shot down the rescue helicopter. Yeah. I did not realize that Turkey had attempted to shoot down that same helicopter. So this morning when I first saw the reports, I'm thinking, okay, this is Putin being provocative. I mean, if they weren't in Turkish airspace, they were very, very close to it. And it was over a part of Syria where everyone there's of Turkish descent anyway. But it does look like Turkey's being a bit provocative, especially shooting at the pilots after ejection. If you're really just worried about your airspace, that's not. I mean, I'm no big fan of the new Putin oligarchy, retooled semi-Soviet Union, but there's no justification for that.
No, I agree, and I don't think anybody here is a fan of Putin. I think what some of us, and maybe me and you, might be a fan of, is that Putin is willing to react. He's willing to take action, as are the French. And Obama standing next to the French president, I'm sorry, it was the same Obama talking about doing nothing. He said, we've been doing this, the coalition of 65 nations, and we've been doing this for a year. And even if there was no Paris, he said, I was convening my experts to find out how we were progressing. It's been a year now, and how we could make the fight against ISIS more effective. Baloney, I say, Rick.
Well, I'm not quite sure how that ties into the shooting down of the Russian
airplane. No, it
airplane.
doesn't. Now I'm talking about what the press conference and the meeting was about.
Listen, it's no secret. I've been no great fan of the Obama strategy on ISIL. I'm still not. The only thing that I ask of anybody at this point is before you send in ground troops, and I'm not allergic to sending in ground troops, by the way, but before you do, tell me what they're going to do, because my fear is we're going to send those people there and these ISIL jerks are going to melt into the population. The real issue here is, and we all need to talk about it more often, we need more human intelligence there. We don't have it.
Right, and Edmund, here's the problem. You can't win a war fighting not to kill a civilian. And Barack Obama won't fire here, won't fire there, won't bomb this, won't bomb that, because there might be a civilian. In effect, you're saying use human shields and you're protected. And what's worse is they dropped leaflets the other day on these oil tanker drivers for ISIS and gave them 45-minute warning. Israel does that to civilians. They did it to the ISIS truck drivers, and they had 45 minutes to tell everyone in ISIS, get out, they're going to bomb us.
Well, this from the president or the administration that gave us the Medal for Courageous Restraint, remember?
Right.
But again, the real problem here is we have an administration that won't even admit who the enemy is, what the nature of this war is. They won't say the phrase Islamic terror. Nobody running for the Democrat nomination will say that phrase either, except maybe Jim Webb, but he's no longer running as a Democrat. So Steve, when you get down to the minutia, you have to just step back and say, look, there is no adult being realistic about what this situation is, so the chances of success are non-existent.
Right, and then he quotes from the Statue of Liberty, what the plaque on the Statue of Liberty says, which was really, really good. We're coming back, part two of the panel. We got Trump, we got Cruz rising, we got a Instagram thing Trump did on Hillary. Lots to talk about. Don't go away.
Hey, I watched when the World Trade Center came tumbling down. And I watched in Jersey City, New Jersey, where thousands and thousands of people were cheering as that building was coming down. Thousands of people were cheering. So something's going on. We got to find out what it is.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Rick Ungar and C. Edmund Wright back on the Malzberg panel. All right, so Donald Trump taking a lot of heat for that. Of course, he wasn't in Jersey City, so he doesn't mean he was on the streets of Jersey City. And on TV, you did see Palestinians in the streets in the West Bank and East Jerusalem doing exactly what Donald Trump just said. And if you read the Washington Post a week after 9/11, here's part of what the Washington Post piece said. Let's put that up on the screen. And it talked about how in Jersey City, within hours of two jetliners plowing into the World Trade Center, law enforcement authorities detained and questioned a number of people who were allegedly seen celebrating the attacks and holding tailgate-style parties on rooftops as they watched the devastation on the other side of the river. So, Edmund, is the criticism of Trump fair, and does it matter?
It's only fair to a small degree to say that, look, he exaggerated. The fact of the matter is, those images were, as the Washington Post reported, they did in fact happen. Tailgate-style rooftop parties while New York is burning is pretty crass, and it only took 19 people to do that attack. So I don't think it's all that important whether there were 1 dozen or 10 dozen or 100 dozen celebrants like that. The fact is, on the Arab Street there were thousands, and so maybe there were only dozens or hundreds in New York City area and Jersey City, etc.
What about it, Rick?
So,
Rick's chuckling.
I am chuckling. That's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Guys, I know you want to support your candidate, and that's okay with me.
I don't have a candidate
But
yet.
oh, come on. First of all, Trump said thousands. And last I checked, Palestine really isn't in New Jersey. It might just feel like it
There is no
sometimes to some
Palestine,
people.
yeah.
So that's number one. Number two, the newspaper said allegedly. I can't believe he's relying on that. And number three, if you talk to the police chief of Jersey City, who was there at the time, I know because I actually did talk to him, he has no recollection of any of this. You think it doesn't matter when a presidential candidate accuses thousands of Muslims in a state of having a party while the World Trade Center is burning? That's no big deal to you? That's just a tiny little error? Shame on you.
shame on you for denying that there were at least some celebrations.
I didn't deny anything, C. Edmund. I didn't. I quoted the newspaper article, so you can stick that. You know where that goes. The fact of the matter is, for anybody to try and let him off the hook is shameful. You can support Donald Trump. You can support what he's for, but that's outrageous.
And Hillary running under fire with her and her daughter in Bosnia?
Just as bad, and I criticized it just as loudly then. The difference between me and you is I'll criticize my side for doing something like that. You're actually trying to defend it.
All right, let's move to the polls in Iowa. And see, Edmund, you predicted on this show a year ago to watch out for Ted Cruz because he could win the nomination. And he is now just about dead even in Iowa. A real steep rise suddenly for Ted Cruz. 2 points, I think, behind Donald Trump in the latest poll.
Yeah, I have some inside contacts to Ted Cruz's super PAC and his campaign, and although I don't work for either. So I know that Cruz has been in the long game from the start. Now, obviously, Trump comes on the scene and he's changed all the dynamics and everything. So you wondered if that was going to keep Cruz from ever getting traction. The thing about Iowa, either for better or for worse, is they take their votes very seriously and very personally. And I think what's happened in the last week is they have said, you know what, we're a little bit nervous with this Ben Carson guy. And I think that's where most of Cruz's new supporters have come from.
What about it, Rick? Agree?
I actually agree with that. I think Cruz has had a strategy right from the beginning. He's been affecting that strategy. Look, I may not agree with him politically, but this is a very smart guy who understands how to run a campaign. If you don't take him seriously, you do so at your own peril.
Ahmed Mohammed, the kid who got arrested in school for bringing a so-called clock that looked like a bomb to school in Texas. He's now left the country, gone to some Muslim country, I believe, and met with the butcher of Sudan, posed with him, then went to the White House. Their family's suing for $10 million. They each have 15 seconds. Rick, any merit to that lawsuit?
A, no merit legally. They'll lose. And two, what a stupid thing to do.
Edmund?
If you want to know why Donald Trump will get a pass on his thousands comment, it's because our president falls for this big scam. This little kid's dad is an agitator. This was supposed to look like a bomb, and now it's our fault. That's why
we all know two wrongs make a right.
All right. Good. See Edmund Wright and Rick Ungar. Great discussion. Thank you. Daniel Henninger, Wall Street Journal, is next. Don't go away.